The sun had barely started to set over the city, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. In a large, lavish hall filled with glittering chandeliers and polished marble floors, a crowd had gathered. The air buzzed with excitement, but beneath it, there was a strange tension. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something unusual to happen, though they weren't quite sure what it would be. At the center of the gathering was a man who everyone in the room knew well. He was a millionaire, a man whose wealth was spoken about in whispers and stories. People admired him, feared him, and sometimes they even laughed at him behind his back. He had a sharp presence, a voice that could command attention, and an air of confidence that made it clear he was used to getting what he wanted. But along with that confidence, there was a streak of arrogance, a habit of mocking those who dared to challenge him, even in the smallest way. In contrast, a young girl sat quietly at the edge of the room. She looked small compared to the grandeur around her. Her clothes were simple, nothing like the sparkling dresses and tailored suits of the crowd, but there was something in her eyes that drew attention. She was there for one reason: the piano. Not just to play it, but to face a challenge that could change her life forever. She had a quiet determination about her, a mix of nerves and hope. She had heard the words of the millionaire before coming here, and though they were cruel, they had sparked something inside her. The millionaire was speaking to the crowd now, his tone playful but edged with mockery. "I've heard this girl can play the piano," he said, looking in her direction. "I'll tell you all something. If she performs the piano perfectly, I might even adopt her. Otherwise—" He let the sentence hang in the air, a smirk playing on his lips. The implication was clear. He didn't expect her to succeed. The audience laughed, some politely, others openly amused by what they assumed would be a foolish claim. The girl felt a lump in her throat. Her heart pounded. She knew that everyone's eyes were on her, measuring, judging. She wanted to run, to hide from the impossible pressure, but something inside her whispered to stay. She had spent years practicing, often alone, learning from old music books and recordings. This was the moment that could prove her talent, the moment that could show the world she was more than just a poor girl from the outskirts of the city. She moved closer to the grand piano that stood in the center of the hall. It was massive, shining under the golden light of the chandeliers. Her fingers trembled as she touched the keys for the first time. The cool touch of the ivory reassured her, grounding her in the reality that she had prepared for this moment, even if the pressure felt unbearable. The crowd fell silent. The chatter that had filled the room faded as people realized something important was about to happen. The millionaire leaned back in his chair, folding his arms with a confident grin. He thought he already knew the outcome. This was, to him, nothing more than entertainment, a moment to watch someone fail and confirm his own cleverness. But the girl did not see him. She focused only on the piano and the music that lived inside her. She closed her eyes for a brief second, letting her mind gather courage. She thought about the long hours of practice, the sacrifices, the quiet nights when she had played until her fingers ached. Every note she had learned, every song she had memorized, was a part of her story, and now she would let that story speak. Her fingers moved softly at first. The notes were gentle, almost shy, echoing through the hall. Some people in the audience exchanged glances, surprised at the beauty and clarity of the sound. The millionaire raised an eyebrow, his smirk fading just a little. The girl's music was not just skillful. It was honest. There was emotion in every note, a sincerity that touched everyone present. As she continued, her confidence grew. Her hands moved more freely, and the music began to fill the room with life. The melody carried a mixture of hope, sadness, and determination. The people watching felt a strange stillness come over them. They could not look away. It was not only the notes but the heart behind them that made the performance captivating. The millionaire's eyes widened. He had seen many talented musicians, but there was something about this girl that caught him off guard. She was not performing for fame or recognition. She was playing because the music was part of her, and her honesty shone through every chord. His confidence, the arrogance that had been his shield, began to waver. For the first time, he was unsure of the outcome. Some members of the crowd whispered to each other. "She is incredible," one said softly. "I never expected this." Another added, "Look at her face. She isn't pretending. She is really feeling the music." The girl's performance was no longer just a test of talent. It had become a story, a moment that connected with everyone present. The room seemed to shrink around her. It was as if the piano, the music, and her courage were the only things that mattered. Her mind was calm, even though her heart still raced. She was fully present, letting each note guide her. There was no fear of the millionaire's words now, only the truth of her abilities. Finally, she reached the end of her piece. The last note lingered in the air, echoing softly. For a heartbeat, there was complete silence. Then, slowly, the audience began to clap. It started quietly, hesitant, but quickly grew into a wave of appreciation. People were standing, some with tears in their eyes, moved by the honesty and emotion of what they had just witnessed. The millionaire sat frozen, his usual composure gone. He looked at the girl, then at the crowd and back at the girl again. His smirk had vanished. The words he had spoken in mockery now felt hollow. The girl had proven him wrong, not just by playing the piano, but by showing courage and authenticity that no wealth or power could match. The girl opened her eyes, breathing heavily but smiling. She looked around at the people who had doubted her and then at the man whose words had caused her fear. In that moment, she understood something important. Talent alone was not enough. It was honesty, perseverance, and the willingness to step forward even when everyone laughed at you that truly mattered. The millionaire finally spoke, his voice quieter than before. "I did not expect that," he admitted. There was no mockery, no arrogance, only a rare trace of respect. The crowd waited, sensing that something had changed in him. And for the first time, the girl felt the possibility of a new life, one where her talent could be recognized, and her honesty could be rewarded. That night, the girl left the hall with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had faced the challenge, played with all her heart, and touched the lives of everyone present. She didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew she had taken the first step towards something remarkable. And somewhere in that grand hall, a millionaire had begun to see the world differently, realizing that sometimes the smallest hands can create the biggest impact. After the performance, the girl returned home, carrying with her the echo of applause and the weight of emotions that still swirled in her mind. Her small apartment felt quieter than usual, almost too quiet after the buzz of the grand hall. She placed her bag on the floor and sat by the window, staring at the city lights twinkling in the distance. Each light seemed to reflect a dream, a possibility, and a reminder of how different her life could become. She thought about the millionaire's words. At first, they had sounded like a cruel joke, a taunt to make her feel small and insignificant. But now, after playing the piano, she understood that they were also an opportunity. They were a chance to show not just her talent, but her spirit. She remembered the faces in the audience, some surprised, some moved, and even the millionaire himself, whose expression had shifted from mockery to something closer to admiration. It was all real, and it had left a mark on her. That evening, she practiced again. Not for anyone else, not to prove anything, but for herself. She ran her fingers over the keys, replaying the pieces she had performed, noticing small mistakes and moments she wished she had handled better. Each note was a lesson, a reminder that even when she had done well, there was always room to grow. She stayed at the piano late into the night, letting the music soothe her nerves and ignite her determination. Meanwhile, in the city, the millionaire was restless. He had spent the evening replaying the girl's performance in his mind. It was not just that she had played well. It was the honesty, the emotion, the fearlessness in her music that had struck him. He found himself thinking about her often, wondering what kind of life had shaped someone capable of such depth at such a young age. For the first time, he began to see beyond his wealth and power. There were things money could not buy, and talent paired with honesty was one of them. The next day, the girl prepared for another visit to the hall. Word had spread about her performance, and the millionaire had requested a private meeting. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She didn't know what he wanted, or if he would even remember the promise he had made. The walk to the hall felt longer than usual, each step echoing with her thoughts about the past day, the applause, and the possibility of change. As she entered the hall, she noticed how different it felt without the crowd. The chandeliers still sparkled, the marble floors gleamed, but there was a calmness in the emptiness. The piano waited for her, its surface reflecting the soft light. She approached it, feeling the smooth keys beneath her fingers, and allowed herself a moment to breathe. This was not a performance for an audience, but a moment of preparation, a chance to center herself before meeting the man who had challenged her. When the millionaire arrived, he was accompanied by a quiet confidence. He had seen many things in his life, but he had never encountered someone quite like her. He watched as she sat down, her posture straight but relaxed, hands resting lightly on the keys. There was something in the way she approached the piano that reminded him of honesty and dedication, qualities he had long overlooked in his pursuit of wealth and status. He spoke first, his voice less sharp than before. "You played well yesterday," he said. "Better than I expected. Most people would have been nervous, but you seem to let the music guide you. I want to understand you better." The girl looked up, surprised. She had expected criticism, perhaps another taunt, but not this. She nodded slowly, her fingers still resting on the keys. "Thank you," she said softly. "I try to let the music speak for me." He observed her, noticing the honesty in her eyes. Unlike many people he had met, she was not trying to impress him or gain favor. She was being herself, letting her actions and talent show who she truly was. It was a rare quality and it intrigued him. "Tell me about your music," he asked. "Where does it come from? Why do you play?" The girl took a deep breath. She thought about the long hours she had spent alone, practicing in a small room, learning from recordings and old books. She spoke of the music that had been her companion through difficult times, of the joy and comfort it had brought her, and of the dream that one day, someone would believe in her enough to give her a chance. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of experience and sincerity. The millionaire listened, absorbing every detail. He began to see the girl not just as a talented musician, but as a person shaped by struggle, resilience, and hope. He realized that his initial challenge, meant as a joke, had been a test he did not fully understand. It was a test of courage, honesty, and the willingness to step forward despite uncertainty. The girl had passed with grace, showing him that true talent was inseparable from character. Over the next few days, the girl continued to practice and refine her music, while the millionaire observed from a distance. He began to arrange for her to receive better instruments, access to music lessons, and opportunities to perform in more formal settings. Slowly, he started to involve himself in her growth, not as a patron showing off his generosity, but as someone genuinely interested in her well-being and development. The girl found herself learning to trust him, even though it had been hard at first. She had known people who promised much and delivered little, who used kindness as a tool for manipulation. But this was different. His actions matched his words, and his respect for her abilities and honesty grew clearer each day. She began to feel that maybe, just maybe, life was offering her a chance she had never dared to dream of. As the days turned into weeks, she experienced a mixture of emotions. There were moments of doubt, where she wondered if she truly deserved the attention and support. There were moments of joy, when her music reached new heights and she realized the power of dedication and perseverance. And there were moments of reflection, when she thought about the life she had lived before this opportunity, and how far she had come simply by staying true to herself. The millionaire, too, experienced change. He had always been used to control and predictability, but the girl's presence reminded him of the beauty of unpredictability, of discovering value in unexpected places. He started to understand that wealth was not the ultimate measure of success or happiness. Talent, honesty, courage, and kindness were equally, if not more, important. And he began to feel a genuine desire to nurture these qualities in someone else, to invest in a future that was not defined solely by money. One evening, as the girl practiced a particularly challenging piece, the the millionaire quietly entered the room. He watched her for a long moment, noticing the intensity of her focus, the emotion she poured into every note. When she finally looked up, she saw him standing there, a rare softness in his expression. "You've come a long way in a short time," he said. "And it's not just the music. It's the way you carry yourself, the honesty you show. That is something most people never learn." The girl smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She realized that the journey was not just about proving herself to him or to the world. It was about discovering her own strength, her own voice, and learning that honesty and dedication could open doors she had never imagined. From that day on, her life began to change in ways she had only dreamed of. She continued to play, to learn, and to grow, all while the millionaire watched, supported, and gradually became a part of her world. Their interactions were not about power or wealth, but about mutual respect and the shared joy of seeing talent and honesty flourish. The girl understood that her music had not only won her recognition but had also sparked change in someone who had long been blinded by pride and arrogance. And so, she moved forward, step by step, note by note, in a journey that promised more challenges, more growth, and more opportunities to shine. The piano remained her anchor, her companion, and her voice. And in the quiet moments, when the music filled the room and the world outside seemed distant, she felt a sense of peace and purpose, knowing that she had the power to shape her own destiny, one honest note at a time. The day of the next performance had arrived. The hall was filled once again, but this time there was a sense of anticipation rather than amusement. Word had spread about the girl's talent, and people from all walks of life had come to witness her play. The chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the polished marble floors reflected the warm glow, but the real light seemed to come from the energy in the room. The girl entered quietly, her hands slightly trembling but her heart steady. She approached the grand piano in the center, her eyes scanning the audience for familiar faces. The millionaire was there, seated near the front, his expression calm but attentive. He had seen her perform before, but he knew this time would be different. This was not just about proving talent, it was about honesty, courage, and connection. She sat down, taking a moment to breathe and place her hands on the keys. The hall grew silent, the kind of silence that carries expectation and hope. The audience waited, some with curiosity, some with excitement, and all with a sense that something remarkable was about to happen. Her fingers began to move softly at first. The notes filled the air with a gentle melody, delicate and clear. She played not for approval or recognition, but for the music itself, letting it flow from her heart. Each note carried emotion, memories of quiet nights, of small victories, and of a dream that had refused to fade despite obstacles. As the music grew, the audience leaned in, captivated. The melody was no longer just sound. It was a story, a conversation without words. People could feel her journey, the struggles, the hope, the determination. The millionaire's usual composure started to fade. He leaned forward, listening intently, realizing that this was more than a performance. It was a revelation. The girl's confidence grew with every measure. She allowed herself to be vulnerable, letting the music speak what words could not. The audience felt her honesty in every note, and their admiration turned into awe. Some closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, while others sat in stunned silence, absorbing the raw emotion. Halfway through the piece, her hands moved faster, the notes weaving together a tapestry of sound that was both intricate and expressive. She lost herself in the music, forgetting the hall, the audience, and even the millionaire. All that existed was the piano and the melody that flowed from her heart. It was a moment of pure connection between the girl and her music, and through it, with everyone present. The millionaire watched, his mind racing. He had never expected to feel this way. So moved, so unsettled by someone younger and less experienced in the ways of the world. He had thought he knew everything, but this girl was proving him wrong in ways that touched something deep inside him. Her honesty, her courage, her sheer dedication. It challenged everything he believed about talent, effort, and life. As the piece reached its climax, the girl's expression softened. Her eyes closed, Her body relaxed, and she let the final notes linger in the air, delicate and fading. The hall was silent for a moment, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Then, slowly, the applause began. First hesitant, then growing louder and louder, until the room was filled with cheers and clapping. People rose to their feet, moved by what they had witnessed. The millionaire remained seated for a moment longer, absorbing the scene. His eyes met the girl's, and he saw something that surprised him. A quiet pride, not just in her talent, but in herself. She had faced fear, she had embraced vulnerability, and she had emerged triumphant. It was not just her skill that had captivated the audience. It was her honesty, her willingness to share a part of herself through the music. He stood slowly, clapping along with the rest of the crowd. His presence carried weight, and his acknowledgement added to the significance of the moment. The girl looked at him, her heart racing, unsure of what he would say. He walked toward her, and for a moment, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. "You have something rare," he said, his voice calm but serious. "Not many people can play with such skill, but even fewer can play with such honesty. You have shown courage and integrity in a way that goes beyond music. That is why this moment matters." The girl felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was not just praise she was receiving. It was recognition, understanding, and respect. She nodded quietly, grateful for his words, but also aware that the journey was far from over. This was a beginning, a door opening to possibilities she had only dared to imagine. Over the next few days, the girl's life began to shift. Invitations to perform at smaller venues and private events arrived, and she began to experience opportunities she had never known existed. The millionaire continued to support her, providing resources and guidance, but always with an understanding that her talent and honesty were the driving forces. He did not dictate her path, he helped her navigate it. The girl practiced every day, refining her technique and exploring new pieces. She learned not only about music but about resilience, patience, and the importance of remaining true to oneself. The audience's admiration and the millionaire's support were validating, but they were not the reason she played. She played because it was a part of her, a way to express herself and connect with the world. Meanwhile, the millionaire reflected on his own journey. He had spent years accumulating wealth, power, and influence, often overlooking the simple truths of life. The girl's music reminded him of the value of honesty, courage, and the impact of nurturing talent. He began to appreciate not just the art she created, but the person she was becoming. And in doing so, he realized that supporting her growth was also helping him grow as a person. The bond between them strengthened, built on mutual respect and shared experiences. He attended her practices, offered advice when needed, and celebrated her successes, but he also allowed her space to develop independently. The girl felt supported without being controlled, encouraged without being pressured. It was a balance that fostered confidence and trust. One evening, after a particularly moving performance at a small private gathering, the girl sat alone at the piano, reflecting on how far she had come. She remembered the first challenge, the millionaire's mocking words, and the fear she had felt. Now, she realized that fear had been a catalyst, pushing her to rise above her doubts and prove her abilities. The applause and recognition were gratifying, but the true reward was the realization of her own strength and resilience. The millionaire entered quietly, observing her with a thoughtful expression. "You've changed things," he said softly. "Not just for yourself, but for everyone who has witnessed your journey. You've shown what honesty, courage, and talent can achieve. It's remarkable." The girl smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment she had never known. She had faced fear, embraced her vulnerability, and shared her gift with the world. The journey was not over, but she had taken a significant step forward, and the path ahead, though uncertain, was filled with possibility. From that moment on, the girl continued to grow, both as a musician and as a person. Each performance became an opportunity to connect, inspire, and express her deepest emotions. The millionaire, once a figure of mockery and challenge, had become a mentor and supporter, recognizing the power of nurturing talent and integrity. Their shared journey was a testament to the transformative power of honesty, dedication, and the courage to step into the unknown. And as the music continued to fill the halls, the girl felt a sense of purpose and hope, knowing that she had the strength to shape her own destiny, one note at a time. Days passed, and the girl continued her journey, growing stronger and more confident with each performance. She had learned to embrace her music fully, not just as a skill to show, but as a part of herself that spoke to the world. Her performances were no longer about proving anything to anyone. They were about honesty, courage, and the connection she felt with every note she played. The millionaire, meanwhile, found himself reflecting deeply on the girl's talent and character. His initial mockery and arrogance had been replaced by a quiet admiration. He realized that the qualities he had long overlooked, honesty, resilience, and sincerity, were far more valuable than wealth, power, or influence. The girl had opened his eyes to a world he had never fully understood, and he found himself wanting to support her growth in ways he had never imagined. One afternoon, the millionaire asked the girl to meet him privately at the hall. The room was empty except for the two of them, and the grand piano stood in the center, waiting. The girl approached cautiously, unsure of what he would say or do. She had grown used to challenges, but she still felt a flutter of nerves whenever she was around him. He had the power to change her life in an instant, and she had learned to approach that power with both hope and caution. He looked at her thoughtfully, his expression serious. "I want to apologize," he said. "When I made that comment about adopting you if you could play the piano, I thought it was a joke. I did not realize the impact my words could have. But now, I see that you are not just talented, you are extraordinary. Your honesty, dedication, and courage have shown me something I had forgotten about life. I want to make it right." The girl listened quietly, her heart racing. She had feared this moment might never come, or that it would arrive with more arrogance or condescension. But his words were sincere, and she could see that he truly meant them. She nodded slowly, letting the weight of his apology and recognition settle in her mind. It was more than an apology. It was a turning point, a chance for something new to begin. "I don't need your apology," she said softly. "But thank you for saying that. I just wanted to play to show what I can do honestly. That's all." He smiled faintly, a rare warmth in his expression. "And that is exactly why I want to support you. I want to offer you opportunities, guidance, and resources so you can grow. Not because I mocked you once, but because I see your potential, and I want to help you reach it." The girl felt a mixture of relief, joy, and disbelief. She had faced so many challenges in her life, yet she had never imagined that someone like him could change so quickly, genuinely, and with such kindness. It was a moment that affirmed her belief in the power of honesty and perseverance. She realized that sometimes the people who challenge you the most can also become the ones who help you the most, if they are willing to learn and grow alongside you. From that day forward, the girl's life began to transform in tangible ways. The millionaire arranged for her to receive formal music lessons from experienced teachers, access to high-quality instruments, and invitations to perform in venues that had once seemed unreachable. Each opportunity was a step toward a future she had once only dreamed about, and each step was built on the foundation of her talent, honesty, and courage. The girl also began to experience personal growth. She learned to manage her nerves, to trust in her abilities, and to embrace the challenges that came with her new opportunities. She discovered that growth was not just about skill but about resilience, patience, and the ability to remain true to oneself, even when faced with pressure and expectation. Her music became richer, more expressive, and more powerful, reflecting not just her talent, but the journey she had undertaken to reach this point. The millionaire watched with pride and admiration as she progressed. He no longer saw her as a challenge to be overcome or a spectacle to observe. She had become a partner in a shared journey, someone whose growth and success reflected values he had long neglected. He began to understand the joy of nurturing talent, of investing in someone's future not for personal gain, but for the satisfaction of seeing potential realized. In supporting her, he discovered a new sense of purpose and fulfillment. One evening, after a particularly moving rehearsal, the millionaire approached her with a proposal. "I want you to consider something," he said. "I would like to formally offer you a place in my life, to guide and support you not just in music but in opportunities that life can offer. I know it is a lot to take in, but I want to be someone you can rely on, someone who believes in your potential as much as I do in your talent." The girl was silent for a moment, her mind racing with the possibilities. This was not a decision to be taken lightly. It was about trust, about recognizing sincerity, and about opening her life to someone she had once feared would mock her. But she also felt the truth in his words, the genuine care behind them, and the desire to help her grow as a person. Slowly, she nodded, a quiet smile on her face. She was ready to accept the support, to embrace a new chapter in her life built on honesty, courage, and shared trust. The days that followed were filled with learning, performing, and growth. The girl continued to practice diligently, exploring new pieces and refining her technique. She discovered the joy of collaboration, of receiving guidance from teachers and mentors who recognized her talent and encouraged her to push boundaries. Each performance became an opportunity to express herself more fully, to connect with audiences, and to explore the depth of her musical abilities. The millionaire remained a constant presence, offering support without imposing control. He attended performances, provided feedback, and ensured that she had access to opportunities that would challenge and inspire her. His guidance was steady and thoughtful, and the girl came to trust him not just as a supporter, but as someone who believed in her potential and respected her choices. Their relationship was built on mutual respect, honesty, and the shared goal of growth and development. Through this journey, the girl learned valuable lessons about resilience, integrity, and the importance of staying true to oneself. She realized that talent alone was not enough to achieve success, and that honesty, perseverance, and courage were equally important. She also discovered the impact that sincere support and mentorship could have on one's growth, and the ways in which genuine belief in someone's potential could inspire confidence and achievement. The millionaire, too, continued to change. He had learned to value qualities that money and power could not buy, and to appreciate the impact of nurturing talent with honesty and care. He saw in the girl not just a musician, but a person whose character and integrity had the power to inspire others. Supporting her growth became a source of fulfillment and pride, reminding him of the importance of empathy, guidance, and the joy of helping someone achieve their potential. Together, they moved forward, navigating challenges and celebrating successes. The girl's performances became more expressive, more confident, and more impactful, while the millionaire's understanding of value, support, and personal growth deepened. Their journey was a testament to the transformative power of honesty, dedication, and mutual respect, and to the ways in which genuine connection and support can change lives. In quiet moments, when the music played softly in an empty hall, the girl reflected on her journey. She remembered the mockery, the fear, and the uncertainty, and she realized how far she had come. Each note she played was a reminder of her courage, her honesty, and the trust she had placed in herself and in the people who believed in her. She understood that the journey was ongoing, filled with challenges, growth, and discovery, but she faced it with confidence, knowing that her talent, integrity, and perseverance would guide her forward. The millionaire, observing from a distance, felt a sense of pride and transformation. He had witnessed the power of honesty, courage, and talent, and had learned the value of nurturing growth with sincerity and respect. Together, they had created a bond built not on wealth or power, but on trust, shared goals, and the pursuit of excellence. And as the girl's music filled the halls, resonating with audiences and inspiring admiration, both of them understood that this was only the beginning of a remarkable journey. The girl woke up early, her heart filled with excitement and a hint of nervousness. Today was a special day, one that would mark a new chapter in her life. She had practiced relentlessly, refining every piece of music she had learned, and her confidence had grown steadily with each performance. Yet, there was something unique about this day. It was not just a performance, but a celebration of her journey, the challenges she had overcome, and the growth she had achieved. The hall was decorated simply but elegantly, with sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Guests arrived slowly, each person curious to witness the girl who had captivated everyone with her music and honesty. The atmosphere was calm, yet it carried a sense of anticipation. People whispered softly to one another, discussing the story they had heard and the talent they expected to see. The girl's presence alone had already become a source of inspiration for many. She approached the piano, her fingers lightly brushing the keys as she took a deep breath. The grand instrument seemed to welcome her, its polished surface reflecting the light and her determined expression. She had come far from the timid girl who had once faced ridicule, and now she played with the confidence of someone who understood her own value and potential. The room fell silent as she began to play. The music flowed effortlessly, each note resonating with emotion and depth. She played with honesty, letting her feelings guide her fingers, and the audience felt every nuance. The melody spoke of struggle, hope, and triumph, capturing the essence of her journey. Some guests closed their eyes, allowing the music to touch them deeply, while others watched in awe, realizing that talent and sincerity could create moments of profound beauty. The millionaire, seated near the front, observed her closely. He had seen her grow from a young girl facing mockery into a confident and accomplished musician. Each note she played reflected her dedication, her courage, and her unwavering commitment to honesty. He felt a mixture of pride and admiration, knowing that he had been part of her journey, but also that her success was entirely earned by her own efforts. As the performance continued, the girl allowed herself to become fully immersed in the music. She no longer thought about the audience, the millionaire, or the opportunities that lay ahead. She was simply expressing herself, sharing her story through sound, and connecting with the world in a way words could not. The room seemed to disappear, leaving only the music and the emotions it conveyed. When the final note lingered in the air, the silence that followed was profound. The audience remained still for a moment, as if savoring the impact of what they had just experienced. Then, slowly, applause began, soft at first, and then growing into a thunderous wave of appreciation. People rose to their feet, cheering and clapping, moved not only by her technical skill, but by the honesty and courage that radiated from her performance. The girl stood and bowed slightly, her heart racing with joy and gratitude. She looked around at the faces in the audience, some familiar, some strangers, and felt a sense of connection that went beyond words. She realized that her journey had touched others in ways she had never imagined, and that her music had become a bridge between her experiences and the hearts of those who listened. The millionaire approached her slowly, his expression a mixture of pride and warmth. He extended his hand, and she took it, feeling the sincerity in his gesture. "You have done more than I could have imagined," he said quietly. "You have shown courage, honesty, and extraordinary talent. I am honored to have witnessed your journey, and I am proud to support you in every way I can." The girl smiled, a mixture of relief and happiness filling her chest. She understood that his support was not about wealth or power, but about recognizing her potential and valuing her character. She had come a long way from the girl who had been mocked and underestimated, and now she stood on the threshold of a future full of possibilities. In the following weeks, the girl's life continued to change. She performed at larger venues, received invitations to collaborate with other talented musicians, and began to explore new styles and techniques. Each performance was an opportunity to grow, to connect, and to inspire others. She discovered the joy of sharing her music with a wider audience, knowing that her honesty and dedication could touch lives beyond her own. The millionaire remained a steady presence, offering guidance and support while allowing her independence and creativity to flourish. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and trust, with a shared understanding that her talent and integrity were the foundation of everything she achieved. He celebrated her successes without overshadowing her, and he encouraged her to pursue her dreams with courage and confidence. The girl also experienced personal growth beyond her musical abilities. She learned to navigate challenges with grace, to manage expectations, and to embrace opportunities that required courage and adaptability. Her confidence in herself and her abilities grew steadily, and she began to understand the importance of balancing ambition with humility, talent with honesty, and perseverance with patience. One evening, after a particularly moving concert, the girl sat alone at the piano, reflecting on her journey. She thought about the first time she had been challenged, the fear she had felt, and the determination that had carried her through. She remembered the moments of doubt, the long hours of practice, and the unwavering commitment to honesty and sincerity that had guided her. She realized that every step, every note, and every challenge had shaped her into the person she had become. The millionaire entered quietly, observing her with a gentle smile. "You have achieved so much," he said softly. "And yet, I know this is only the beginning. Your journey will continue, and you will touch countless lives with your music. But remember, it is your honesty, your courage, and your dedication that will always guide you, more than talent or opportunity alone." The girl nodded, feeling the truth of his words. She understood that her journey was ongoing, filled with challenges, discoveries, and moments of growth. She had learned that success was not measured solely by recognition or accolades, but by the integrity with which she pursued her dreams and the courage to remain honest and true to herself. As the days turned into months, the girl continued to grow and flourish. She explored new musical styles, collaborated with other artists, and shared her story with audiences far and wide. Her performances became more than just music. They became expressions of her journey, her values, and her resilience. People were inspired not only by her talent but by the courage and honesty that defined her. The millionaire continued to learn and grow alongside her, discovering the joy of nurturing talent and witnessing the transformative power of support, guidance, and genuine belief in someone's potential. He realized that true fulfillment came not from wealth or control, but from helping someone realize their dreams and supporting them with respect, care, and honesty. Together, they navigated the challenges and triumphs of a life filled with opportunity, growth, and connection. The girl's music continued to resonate with audiences, and her story became a testament to the power of perseverance, honesty, and courage. She understood that her journey was not just about success or recognition, but about the impact she could have on others and the integrity with which she lived her life. In quiet moments, when the hall was empty and the piano keys reflected the soft light, the girl reflected on how far she had come. She remembered the fear, the doubt, and the mockery she had faced, and she realized that each obstacle had been a step toward growth and understanding. She understood the importance of embracing challenges, remaining honest, and trusting in her own abilities. The millionaire watched her from a distance, proud of her achievements and the person she had become. He had learned that true value lies in character, integrity, and the courage to pursue one's dreams with honesty and dedication. Together, they had created a bond built on mutual respect, shared growth, and the transformative power of talent and sincerity. And so, the girl's journey continued, filled with music, growth, and the joy of connecting with the world through her art. She knew that life would bring new challenges, opportunities, and moments of discovery, but she faced each one with confidence, courage, and a commitment to honesty. Her story had become a testament to the power of perseverance, integrity, and the extraordinary impact of sharing one's true self with the world. Through her music, her courage, and her honesty, she had not only changed her own life, but had inspired countless others to believe in themselves and embrace the beauty of their own journeys.